so there were periods where I had nothing to do, not a lot to do when I was there, and I just signed up for a Twitter account when I went there. I didn't really fully understand how to use it, but I thought that it's what the kids are doing these days, so maybe I should get one. And then by the end of the protest, I had tweeted 900 times, and now a bunch of them appear in this book.
One of your tweets, one of the most popular tweet of some time or something?
It was, yes. It was very. Yeah, I can get that.
Guess that.
So I guess I'll talk about. Yeah. I'll talk about the. I guess what social media and things like Twitter can do in struggles like this and what they can't do. I think the most important thing that I got out of being connected to this struggle and using social media really heavily in it was that the ability that people have to push our own narratives, the reality of what's happening in things like this, and cut through some of the mainstream and conservative media, the narrative that they wanted to put forth about it from there. Like the most obvious thing is these obviously absurd stories. There was quite a few of them that could have gained some traction in Wisconsin. Didn't, and I think that partially had to do with the fact that so many people who were there were using things like Twitter to just write about what they were seeing, and sort of the reality on the ground was really undeniable. There were crazy stories like Andrew Breitbart put on his website this story about a pot and booze-soaked disco band playing in the Capitol, and like this sort of hedonistic thing, yeah, this hedonistic thing happening in the Capitol Rotunda. And I watched this thing, I watched the disco band play when it happened, and they were very good, and people danced, but I saw no pot, no booze, and other people didn't either, and so they took to Twitter to express this. And I think things like, or when the state senator estimated when protests were over that there was $7.5 million worth of damage that were done to the Capitol, which everyone who was there knew was absurd, and anyone who paid attention on Twitter knew that there were people on their hands and knees every minute of every hour of every day scrubbing the floors and making sure that people use the right kind of tape to put up posters on the walls. And there was no way that these sort of narratives were taking place when there were so many people using this medium to put out the truth about what was happening. The famous tweet is that I've made. This is maybe my 15th minutes of fame. Was that I was on my laptop in the Capitol, and I just wrote a headline, and Fox announced that the protests were turning violent. Apparently someone had been arrested. I think it was the first arrest of the entire thing. And I thought this was absurd. I couldn't believe that I read this because I'd seen nothing resembling anything. I mean, Fox does a lot of crazy things, but come on, like this is the nicest protest I've ever been to. And then right after I saw this, an old woman who was like 72 years old came in and asked us if we she said, "Do you want some cookies? I'm vegan." And that was really the spirit of the protest. That was really what was going on there. And so something simple like that, I tweeted that out to the world in sort of the sarcastic, snarky way, and it ended up getting referenced actually on Fox News, because that was the reality of what was happening. And the medium, which lends itself to these very short, snarky comments. If you use it in this way, I mean, things can really gain traction, and that really gained much more traction than the stories about violence or pot and booze-soaked hedonism. I feel like those stories, while they were out there, they never really caught any traction. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that so many people could contribute to the conversation. Just normal people, anybody who had a smartphone, or any kind of phone. I didn't even have a smartphone at the time. I was running to the Starbucks that was on the corner or in the Capitol to use a laptop. Anybody who signed up for Twitter could sort of be on this equal level and participate in this conversation. And I think that was a really cool thing to see. So I think that's the big thing to take from this, that social media can be this medium for us to cut through the BS that always accompanies whenever Now, what I don't think it did, this might be surprising to someone who did 900 tweets for Madison, but I don't think that, social media has not really changed the way, fundamentally, that we do politics and protests in the 21st century. And I think Madison actually confirms that. What came first in Madison was mass action, mass protests, civil disobedience, real organizing, real conversations with real people. That kind of thing is still what gets the goods for working people. It's not this sort of point and click activism. It's not social media and the use of things like the internet, and YouTube, and Twitter are not what comes first. And when I was sitting in that same hallway where the woman gave us the cookies, I was with my friend Isaac, and we were joking about how, here we are in the middle of this Capitol. It's like 2 a.m. and it wouldn't it be funny if the AFL-CIO was like, oh, everyone, tweet Walker at the same time, and like maybe we'll be able to, overturn this bill. Like that wasn't what brought people into the streets. Like that wasn't what put so much pressure. That wasn't what got one Republican state senator to change their vote. That wasn't what got the Democrats to flee the state. I mean, it was old-fashioned mass action, and I think that's the biggest lesson that we should take back from Wisconsin. At least if we're thinking in terms of how we make social change happen. A lot of times in these days, we think of like what we measure success in number of clicks, number of tweets, number of online signatures to a petition, and sometimes we like try to inflate numbers, create fake accounts to like make it look like our campaigns are we're doing great. But Wisconsin showed that no matter what kind of technology we're using, it's the physical bodies that we can mobilize, and then how far those people who we mobilize are willing to take the action. And then I think once we have people who are willing to take that action, they can go tweet it out, and it can be used, and they can cut through the false narratives that are being put out there. But those things can't come first. I think we don't need people to just tweet about how pissed off they are about the far right agenda that's being shoved down their throats. We need them to take real, physical, in the flesh action.